Hi, everybody, and welcome to the webinar all about dog training success secrets. I am Molly, and this is Jason, and we are the creators, for those of you guys who don't know us, we're the creators of makeitasadogtrainer.com, where we teach dog trainers how to make more in less time and love their businesses, sometimes love their businesses again, and make a consistent, thriving income and still have lots of time off. So
we're talking about the 7 secrets of the most successful dog trainers. So for the last week or week and a half, Molly has been interviewing some of the most successful dog trainers that we know and getting their stories, because they really would like to help other dog trainers who haven't reached the success level that they have, that they want to yet, and to kind of give back to the dog training community and help out. So at one time they struggled, but they've managed to reach their goals, and everyone can really benefit from hearing how they did it.
Yeah, so these are people that I've gotten to know really well, that a lot of times that I've worked really closely with, or actually all of them I've worked side by side with. So I know them really well, and I've gotten to work with hundreds of dog trainers over the years, and over in private and group programs, and then thousands in our, through our videos and different workshops and things that we've done. So these are some of the ones that I have loved working with. I've still got some more interviews still coming up that I couldn't squeeze into the last couple of weeks. But these guys who did hop on with me had a lot of great kind of success tips to share. So we're going to cover some of the main key takeaways. But first, we need to talk about what success even means, because that's a really important thing, because we're not even just talking about income, even though that's a big part of it. Increasing your income, having the income you want is definitely an aspect of success. But really, it's also just being able to have, in their cases, a lot of times it was quitting their day jobs, or, time to do things with their family and being able to not burn out anymore. If you get to the point where you're burning out, the business is not any fun, even though you're doing something you love to do and you're working with dogs. It's not any fun if you're burning out. Getting better clients who listen and appreciate you, doubling or tripling or 10xing their income, going on vacations, having regular time off. These are all things that these trainers experienced. So we're going to talk about their stories and what changed and how their businesses changed and the things that were common among them all. So
success isn't just the amount of money,
right?
Because you'll just get burned out and it's not sustainable anyway. So it's the whole lifestyle, right, that is the reason why you wanted to have your own business in the first place.
Yeah. So just the impact that the success has on your everyday life.
So I've been listening in to a lot of the conversations, and it's been hours and hours and hours of Molly in here talking to people. It's like a lot of hours worth of valuable information that she's going to share with you and condensed into just this webinar. And what are some of the things that we're going to cover?
Well, I'll tell you guys, I'll tell you guys the questions that Jason and I came up with to ask them, and we'll go over like what some of the answers were. But I want to show you guys this real quick. Let me just go to the screen sharing thing here. These are the people that I got to talk with just in the last week. Can you guys see my screen? Yeah, cool. Thank you. So Carla went from, got another person in the waiting room here. Carla went from making about, she's just been in her business part-time and just recently went to full-time. She actually quit her job ahead of schedule. She was actually going to wait a little while and decided to go ahead and make the jump to full-time just very recently. But she went from making about $9,000 for the whole year part-time in her dog training business last year to making about $50,000 already so far this year. And it's only been about 3.5 months into the year. So that is something that is like pretty much an overnight change that she had in her business. Glenn and Heather, who are here with us, and you're welcome to type in the chat box and if you would like to, and say anything else you'd like to say. But I talked to them for quite a while, and they were making a few years back around like $40,000 or $50,000 a year. They've been training for about 11 years now, I think you said. And we're making between 40 and 50,000 a year. And then it got up to like 70 to 80 on a really good year, they said. And they were just completely burning out. Like Glenn was running the business at first. He was a school teacher as well, and just was completely burning out. So he said one day he came home and talked to Heather and said, I want to refinance the house. I've been following Molly. I want to do Molly's biggest program and just do everything the correct way from the start or from now on. And so they did one of our programs and went from where they were at most making 70 to 80,000 a year to now grossing about $25,000 a month so far this year. So they doubled their income the first year after we worked together, and now they're on pace to double it again. and they work way less. So I asked them about that, about like if they get a lot more time off, and they retired from their full-time jobs. They talked about how much more freedom they have to do their things with their son, Eli, and how much more happy they are getting up and having coffee together in the morning at not 4:30 in the morning and stuff like that. I'm watching them. And yeah, just working way less, retiring from their jobs and everything. So that was their story. Melissa is a wonderful, beautiful person. She more than tripled her income and tripled her income per client, which is partly why she was able to get out of burning out, working constantly, 7 days a week, constantly. She went from making, she said, less than $20,000 a year before we started working together, being burned out and broke basically, to this past year grossing over 65,000, even though she took time off because of COVID. She has a lot more time off. She schedules lots of vacation. So that was really important to her because she has a close relationship with her mom and is helping her. So she has a lot of really important things in her life that was so important to be able to make a lot more without working more. And that's a lot of times what the problem is. The burning out. I'm losing my voice already. This is getting to be a problem, guys. I'm always losing my voice on these webinars. It's getting fast. Michelle, I was talking to her. Some of you guys who've been around the dog training group for a while have seen Michelle's posts. She started off when I first met her making about $3,000 a month in her business. And she went in about 3 or 4 months' time to $20,000 a month, applying what we worked on together. And part of that was because she went from making about, on average, $55 a session with clients to averaging about $230. And now, fast forwarding even a while after she implemented everything, she has a beautiful daughter now who she was expecting while we were working together, and I got to give her labor and delivery advice during our coaching calls. Now she works about half the time she used to. So she's still at that $20,000 a month mark, but she works about half the time as even when she first did that. And then we have Heather, who's also here live with us today. She doubled her income. She's still part-time. She's building the business, treating it like a real business, so that she has the capacity when she quits her full-time job to have plenty of people, plenty of clients. So she doubled her income working part-time just from 1 month to the next, applying what she learned in the things that we worked on together. So did you want to tell them some of the questions that we talked about that we would ask them?
Yeah, but the one thing that really stood out about these examples is how different a lot of the dog trainers are. Mm-hmm. They do some things in common, like we're going to talk about, but from what you've told me, they have very different personality types. Some are introverted, some are extroverted, some like love dealing with people, some don't. They live in different types of areas. They're just different types of businesses. Some have employees and some just do things on their own. And it's just them. Mm-hmm. So isn't it nice that you can have the freedom to have a different business than everyone else and do it your way? But if you follow these same principles that they did, you can be successful and tailor it to the way your lifestyle is and what you want to do. Yeah.
So a lot of the things that were similar, the key takeaways from each of the interviews about what they did and what their kind of the successes were to their success secrets were to their business and what they changed. A lot of the principles were the same, but all the businesses were different. They all kind of applied it in different ways. So we'll get into that and give examples, because your business is different from every other dog trainer you know, and every other dog trainer we know in a lot of ways. So some things will work differently for you, but we wanted to know from them, what were their biggest mistakes that they made in their business so far? What were the top things that made the biggest impacts for their success? What was the number one most important thing? What mistakes did you see? Do you see other dog trainers make that seem obvious to you now? What advice would you give new dog trainers just starting out? Things about their habits, like what they might do every day or every week to kind of keep them successful. And then burnout is a big thing because so many dog trainers burn out at one point or another. So we talked about the things they do to keep from getting burned out or overworked or start hating their business. So yeah.
And one of the things I was actually more interesting than the things they told us, because we kind of had an idea of what they would say was what made them successful. But what was interesting are the things that they didn't mention. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the things they didn't mention were keys to their success are the things that dog trainers are obsessing about all the time.
Yeah.
And if you look at the dog trainer groups on Facebook, like those are the types of questions that they're really worried about these things. And it wasn't even mentioned as anything that helped them be successful. Right. So we're going to talk about some of the things that maybe you think you really need to concentrate on, but after hearing what they thought was important and what they didn't mention, you might realize I don't really need to worry about that so much.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll get, as a bonus, we'll tell you which things you guys can ignore entirely or just not focus on right now, because that helps a lot.
So we're going to count down the top 7 secrets that they mentioned.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean that there's only 7 things that they mentioned, but if you condense what they thought, you can really categorize it into these 7 things. And aren't you going to post the full?
Yeah, I'm going to put, like, because we recorded all the interviews, I'm going to post all of the entire, uncut, like interviews as kind of case studies. So you can, and they talk more about the specifics of what they did, what they changed, what they used to charge, what they charge now for what, more about their programs, all kinds of stuff like that, that you can get even more specific details on each of them. So I will share those things with you guys as well.
So you can get all the details.
Yeah. So we realized, because, we have been posting this webinar all over the place, that some of you guys might not have any idea who we are, although that's unlikely. Some of you guys, most of you guys who are here today are, often on here seeing our antics, but some of you guys might not know who we are or anything about us. So real quick, we're just going to quickly introduce ourselves so you know why you should even listen to us in the first place. Do you want to start it off?
So we had our own dog training business for many years. And we had struggles and we got burned out, and we kind of faced all the different things that everybody faces. But after a while, we realized that we needed to focus more on our marketing knowledge and figuring out how to run the business, because we weren't only worried about just training dogs. We want to have a successful business. And once we focused on that and gain that marketing knowledge, that's when we saw a lot of our problems go away and our successes increased, and we really kind of got it figured out. And Molly was really good at taking what we learned and explaining to other people how to do it, to simplify it in an easy to follow way, and to teach her dog trainer friends how to do what we were doing. And we saw that they started having the same successes that we were. And we realized that the things that we had learned, they really apply to just about any dog trainer. That if you teach it to this dog trainer or that dog trainer, no matter what kind of business they have, that they'll have really fast success. And Molly started running workshops and coaching people one-on-one, and it just kind of built on from there. Right.
Yeah. So this is going back like almost 10 years ago now. Actually, one of the trainers that I talked to was like, "Where were you 10 years ago?" And I was like, "I was here." So yeah, so we've been doing this for quite a while, running workshops and doing, video crash courses and all kinds of things to help teach our fellow dog trainers about the things that we have noticed that work really, really well, especially as it relates to making more in less time, how you package what you offer, how to talk to people, why people make buying decisions, understanding the minds of your ideal clients, all these things that go into getting people to choose you and being able to get paid what you're worth. So that's we started doing that years ago, and initially Jason being the one to while I was recording videos to help watch the babies, and also being the introvert of the family. He was the background person, so he did the video editing, helped me come up with all the outlines. He still to this day we write the outlines together, but you write a lot of the bullet points and the headlines and the emails.
I put the jokes in there.
Yeah, he puts the jokes in the emails.
Say, I can't believe you sent that email with that joke in it.
Yeah, so that thing about the sausage, that was a joke that was meant to be just for me, and I left it in.
So, I entertain myself by putting ridiculous things in the emails and then say, "Did you read that?" And not realizing she was going to send it.
Yeah, I was like, I kept that in.
That's what happens.
Yeah. So we've gotten a little bit more brave as years have gone by with the kinds of things I say out loud or email out. And sometimes he'll put something in as a joke that was just for me and it gets left in. So he does a lot of that background stuff. He makes sure things get implemented and scheduled. And, so he's usually behind the camera. Like I said, you guys who are Marketing Monthly members see him on camera now.
But really, the real reason why Molly was always in front of the camera and coaching dog trainers one-on-one is she just has a real knack for listening to somebody, understanding their business, and in a really short time figuring out where the holes are and what's wrong with the business and where they need to focus, and filling those holes and really exploding their success really quickly within just like weeks, implementing things quickly, helping them create programs and transforming their business like very, very fast. So she just has this instinct for it, and it's experience over years. And, that's also why she does the coaching part.
Yeah. And
she's much better at it than I would be.
And I like people a lot more than Jason does too. So a lot of you guys can relate to not enjoying people too much, but I do. So I love it.
So you
yeah.
want to get into the 7 secrets?
Yeah, let's talk about the 7 secrets, and we're going to elaborate on them a little bit.
So the 7th one,
we're kind of counting down from the top, from the 7th to like the one that had the biggest impact. So like the least impact, the one that's, you know, some of the least sexy ones are first, you know, but they're important.
These are the things that the successful trainers told us. They could have said anything they wanted, and this is what they said. So they weren't like prompted to want to say these things.
Right.
So number 7 was to know when and what to delegate. And knowing that they can't have all the control and they can't do everything themselves. So why don't you explain a little bit more about
so
what
like we were talking about, everybody's businesses are a little different. So not all trainers want to hire other trainers or have a facility or anything like that, have employees. So it's not always hiring other trainers. Sometimes it is. Sometimes that was always the goal and always the plan for the trainer, and sometimes it's not. Like you know, Glenn and Heather, they have employees. Carla and the other Heather are just working from home part-time. Michelle is on her own, and she just recently hired another trainer, but she didn't up until this point. So like, there's always different ways of delegating, but it might just be like just getting other people to do things that you either hate doing or don't know how to do, rather than trying to do everything yourself and trying to figure it all out on your own. It can be like getting help with the marketing side of things, or somebody to do your search engine optimization, or build your website for you, or any of those things that are just not your, you know, you don't need to be a jack of all trades. You might not be good at anything if you try to be a jack of all trades. You'll just spread yourself too thin. Be great at what you're great at. Learn how to be great at things you need to be great at that are part of making a living as a dog trainer. And maybe get help with the other stuff. Like you might even have somebody come over to help you clean up after the kids or the dogs, so that you can use that couple hours twice a week to work on your marketing skills or to return more phone calls faster, things that are going to generate income. But the overall principle is just knowing when and what to delegate and being willing to do it, not having the mindset that you have to do everything yourself because this is your business. That's really important.
And this was a little bit hard for, I remember, for me to get through my head, because when I was a kid, if I was, you know, my parents and my mom, if someone else, if a friend of ours had someone else come and clean their house for them or do their dishes for them or something like that, my mom would think that person was either like really snobby or like
they have a cook and they have a cleaning person.
Look how special they are. So it's kind of like a bad stigma attached to having someone come and clean your house, like, oh, look how special you are.
Right.
So for me, I was thinking, oh, that sounds a little bit weird. But after a while, realizing that if we had someone come and we could pay them like $15 or $20 an hour even to babysit or clean up or do something like that, that would free us up to do things that would help generate a lot more revenue for the business.
Yeah, a lot more than what we were paying that person for that couple hours. Yeah.
So you can't think like, oh, you know, look at what a hero I am. I saved paying someone to do this project in my house or to do this thing. And look, I didn't have to spend the money on it, but you could have trained another dog in that time or done some marketing or got another client, and it would have more than paid for that. And you wouldn't have had to do it.
Yeah. So it's more about like having that investment mindset. If something's going to pay you back, like if I'm going to get somebody to come save me a couple hours of time and I'm going to use that time wisely, that's going to be an investment. That's going to pay me back and so much more than the amount that I'm investing in somebody else to do it. So yeah, that's kind of a mindset thing, but a lot of them mention that, and being able to know that they need it, or just knowing that they couldn't do everything themselves. So that's number 7, counting down the 7.
Number 6 is organizing and having systems, which doesn't mean the same thing for everyone.
Yeah. And like I said, this is one of those that like is important, but nobody ever likes to talk about. It's not really that much fun, organizing and systems, unless you're like Jason's personality type, or Glenn, your beautiful wife, her personality type. Organizing and having systems is different for everybody. It could be having software to keep track of your clients, like a really good CRM. You might be more of a pen and paper person. You might need a software to help you with scheduling phone calls, or you know, you might be more of a spreadsheet person. Like everybody does things a little differently with how they keep track of information, how they keep track of who they need to follow up with, what people sign up for, how much money you made, bookkeeping stuff, all these different things, this information and just the systems that you have for organizing organizing everything, your schedule, all of that stuff is all stuff that you have to have systems for. And that does develop and progress and kind of evolve over time. And everybody kind of does things a little differently, but all the successful trainers have figured out systems that work for them.
What are some ways that you can do that? Is there like a software to use or something? Or?
Yeah, there's tons. Like there's a bunch of different softwares that work well for organizing your client information, like Honeybook or Trello, just organizing the information about when people contact you and who to follow up with and when, and just kind of keep track of all the people and the moving parts in your business and the money and all that stuff.
And did any of the people you spoke with have employees, and how would they utilize that so that the communication would be
like
sync?
Glenn and Heather were saying that they have a lot of redundant systems because they have so many things going on all the time and so many things that are changing. They have 4 big whiteboards in their training room that have information about the clients and the drop-offs and the dogs and the appointments and everything. He has a written calendar book and a digital calendar book, and they have meetings together too to organize the information. And that's a system that works really well for them to have that many redundancies. For some people, that would drive them nuts and they just want everything in one place. Carla, for example, has a bullet journal that she loves, and she does calligraphy and she writes everything in that. So, and then some people use like Acuity to schedule all their appointments and have clients do their, schedule on the availability calendar electronically. So there's different things that work for everybody. Figuring out what system works for you does take a bit of practice, but it can also take, that's something that I worked with Glenn and Heather and some of the others one-on-one with, because they didn't know what would work well for them. So just kind of being able to look at the business and say, here's your style of organizing information. This is what will work for you. You need to see everything, a big overhead view, or you don't, and you can have everything in your phone. And everybody's a little different that way. Yeah. So that's number 6.
Number 5 is really important. And this part's, it can be fun too.
Yes.
It's schedule time off and set boundaries.
Yes. So all of them in some way or another talked about the boundaries they have, because we talked about how to avoid burnout. And like Melissa was mentioning how she had 0 boundaries initially. Like somebody would call and say, hey, I've got, Sunday off, and she was trying to take, I've got availability on Sunday, and she was trying to take Sunday off. Now she's working on Sunday. So she worked 7 days a week, constantly doing lessons and driving all over the place for just whoever was available whenever. She had no boundaries at all. And then as you start to kind of have some boundaries, one of the things you have to do is schedule yourself time off. You need to write it in the calendar. I do not work these days. I do not work this week of this month. You have to block it off. You're booked that time at that time. And one of the things you mentioned was an objection. You wanted to mention that? Then one of the things that people have a problem with doing that.
What if you just already your schedule might be completely packed. You're working as much as you can, and you're already barely making enough money. It's like, well, if I take time off, I'm just going to make less money. I can't do that. I can't have to pay bills and everything. You might be thinking like, I can't schedule time off. Like I already just don't make enough money. I'll just make less money. So the thing that's great about dog training businesses is if you make changes, you can see results as of the next consultation you have with somebody. Yeah, like the next day. It could be the next day. Yeah. So if you're used to, offering a certain thing, you're charging by the hour or whatever, tomorrow you can offer somebody a $3,000 program and they could say yes. And a lot of your problems will go away right then. And you could take time off. Yeah. So like the change, it's not this gradual process where over time, maybe you'll get a little bit better and a little bit better. That does happen. You make changes, gradually, but you can see a very fast turnaround if you change the things that matter the most. Mm-hmm. Which is great for this type of business. Yeah, that's a really important point, because if you're at that point where you're already working constantly and you can't afford to take time off because you'll just make less money and you can't afford that, then you need to change how much money you make in the same amount of time. And that's one of the first things that I work on with pretty much everybody, because almost everyone needs to make more in less time. That's the number one kind of issue that comes up even among the trainers that I work with who have no idea what they need. It turns out that that's part of the problem, that they're working too many hours to make the amount that they're making because they're undercharging, or because they're, they don't know how to package what they offer and present it in a way that makes people willing to pay more per person, things like that. So that's why in those stories I was sharing before, a lot of them they all had extreme increases in their income per client, not just per month. And that's why they were able to work a lot less. So that's kind of getting into I don't know if you mentioned that's somebody you talk to, they schedule time off whether they have something planned or not.
Yeah, Melissa.
Like,
yeah, she said,
yeah.
I might not be going anywhere, but I just scheduled the vacation time because that's just I'm off that week. And yeah, so hopefully she'll come.
It can be tricky because you might feel bad, and one of your clients has a last minute problem that they're going on vacation, they have no one to watch their dog, their pet sitter canceled, and they call them begging you, oh, can you please watch? And it's sometimes you say yes because you feel bad and you might like the person, but you have to actually put your foot down and not allow people to take advantage of your personal time.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it can be after a certain time, I'm not answering calls, or I'm only doing board and train programs for 2 weeks out of the month, and the other 2 weeks I'm not doing it. When we had our dog training business, we had 1 week per month where we didn't have any dogs staying at our house, because to consistently have board and train dogs that you're responsible for, it's exhausting because it's stressful. So we needed that boundary. So you can figure out what works for you, but you have to have boundaries, and you can't consistently let people let them in because you feel bad, or because
Yeah. You get.
And if you're not desperate for the money because you're doing well, then you don't feel like you have to.
Right. Yeah. You get a lot more comfortable saying no once you get to the point where you don't feel panicked that you need the money and you're just chasing, you're putting out fires all the time and just taking what you can get and just hoping that things work out and that you'll get to sleep at some point. So yeah, everybody picks their own boundaries. Everybody has different things that work well for them, depending on their health and their family situations. Like Michelle had a baby while we were working together. So she wanted to have weekends off and the majority of evenings off. And she worked out her schedule to be like that. And to make sure that her clients respected those boundaries. And yeah, so everybody does things a little differently. Heather, Glenn's wife, mentioned that she really loved that they can say yes to things that like their son needs for them, or to go do things with their son because they can say no to other people. Like, we don't work that day, like we're off right then. So being able to have that boundary and not feel bad about it, and be able to be given permission to take the time off. And yes, that's a reasonable amount to work, and that's a reasonable amount to not work. That's really helpful to a lot of trainers.
But you really can only do this if you have other parts of your business in order so that you make enough money to do it.
Right.
Because if you're already, you can't take time off if it's going to get you in debt.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So you need to know how to not do that.
Which is going to be coming up in some of the next ones.
Yeah. That's what the point is of the other secrets.
Yeah. So it's kind of a side benefit, but it's really important to do.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Number 4 is learning how people think.
Yes. So this is not just a dog psychology business. This is not just about, this is not even really a dog business. This is actually, as Carla, I think it was Carla who said this, or it might've been Heather, or you both might've said it, that this is Heather Adams, that is. So I've got 2 Heathers that I'm talking about here, going back and forth, that this is a people business. Even if you're an introvert, which 94%, I think it was 94, 95% of you guys are introverts. And that might be why you are in an animal business, but you are actually in a people business. Your subject just happens to be dogs. So you need to understand how people think, because as a lot of the trainers told me, it impacts everything. How you talk to people, your website content, how you structure what you offer, understanding how especially your ideal clients, how they think, what makes them make decisions, what they really want, what the impacts are of your training on their lives. All of those things are huge. Just understanding how they actually think.
So how do you do that?
And everything.
How do you learn how they think?
Well, part of it is, that's one of the things I love teaching about, and just being like, okay, so here's how you should word this thing on your website or in your program description, because this is the psychological impact it will have on the people who read it. And here's why. And then I explain those kinds of things, and they're like, oh, that makes so much sense. Because you look at things from your eyes, as a dog trainer, this is what me as a dog trainer would want to see in this content to attract me. But your ideal clients are not you. They don't know anything about, what they might not even know what recall means, which is a big joke among a lot of the people that I work with, that like, they say recall and proof and, words like that. Tim, are you here? I think Tim's here. Tim is the official jargon guy. Hey, Tim. Tim created a list of dog trainer jargon for us in one of the workshops we did, because he was, by all counts, the one who used the most jargon prior to doing one of the programs with me. So Tim also did the Thrive program with me at one point. So Tim, actually, I was going to hit you up for an interview too. So stick around, look for a message from me about that. But yeah, Tim that was one of the things that he learned a lot, is how people think, how they talk, and being able to relate to people better, because this is a people business. So being able to understand all of that makes them be able to like you more, which ultimately helps you make more money.
So I have a question, because you said that most dog trainers are introverts. So how do you do that if you have a hard time with people? How can you overcome that to still be likable and to understand people, like you're saying, if you're not naturally a people person?
Well, it is really hard for a lot of people to focus on the outcomes that people get from the programs. So if you are more thinking about the outcomes that the dogs get from working with you, the freedom that they get, and the dog being happier, the dog being more confident, one of the things you really need to force until you get where it becomes second nature to you is focusing more on the outcomes that the people get, the things that they tell you impacted their lives. So asking them, you know, after the training, how did it change how your everyday life is? Or even asking before the training, how is your dog's behavior impacting your everyday life? Understanding how what you do makes their lives better, and the words that they use to explain what they want and what they got out of the training. And really listening to that can help you develop more of kind of like an empathy and a care for the outcome that the people have in the program, rather than just what the results the dog has and the benefits the dog gets. So just kind of shifting your mind and asking questions in a way so that you can actually learn from, even if you're not a naturally empathetic person. If you are, it's really helpful if you love people too. But if not, then just kind of forcing your way into understanding why people want your services in the first place, the impact your services have on their everyday lives.
So you also mentioned earlier to me about their website content. Mm-hmm. So one of the greatest gold mines of dog training marketing help that people often overlook is just listening to what their clients say. They'll hear the words that they use when they speak to them on the phone, and what they write in emails, and the way they describe their problems, and the way they describe what the dog does and how their life would be better, and all of the language they use in the specific words. And then they ignore those words and they replace them with something else that's so foreign to what those dog owners say. Mm-hmm. And there's a disconnect there.
Right.
So couldn't you just get that marketing information about what you write on your website and what you say by just listening to what they tell you, and then just say it right back to people, and you'll get similar people as they are?
Yeah, like some of the websites that I've read that are really, really, really well written are trainers who have just obviously been listening to their clients, and they just use the same phrases and the same words that their clients use, and the things that they say they wish they had, or the things they said that drive them crazy about their dogs, and how they feel about, you know, the dog's behavior, and even after the training, how they said they felt about the impact that the training had, all that stuff. Just taking those words and turning them into like, don't you wish this? And do you feel this way? And like, you know, what you want is this. And imagine if your life was like this instead, or your dog listened this way. And just taking those words and repurposing them in the form of content that pulls people in and gets more people like that, because they see themselves in what you wrote. So yeah, and that's something that is a skill that has to be learned by 99% of people, because you might not just naturally know how people think, but that is something you definitely can and should learn. So that was one of the big things that they all learned as part of their marketing skill development.
If you're just not a natural at it, like rarely people are, but if you're not and you feel uncomfortable with it, the thing that's good about it is that there's just steps that you can learn.
Right.
So for a while, you can just follow the rehearsed things that you have, and it'll work, and then it'll become more natural to you.
Yeah. I forget. Hey, Eric is coming on. I forget who it was of you guys that said that, but like, you know, I think it was Michelle, that she said that like everything was just simple and in steps, so that if she didn't know how to do something, she could just literally just do exactly what I said. Like she repeated back to me something that she does really well in her sales process. And she repeated it to me and said, I say this thing because I just followed what you told me. And it was like word for word something from one of my scripts. And I started laughing. She goes, does that sound familiar? And, you know, because like if you can just follow steps and things that have worked consistently well for years for, you know, hundreds of other trainers to help, you know, with the skill until it's natural. You know, I think it's Carla also said that like the sales process, the steps for the sales process was something that she had to like read and focus on every single step. at first. And now it's just like something she doesn't even think about. It's just so natural.
Well, I think we're starting to encroach on number 3.
Yeah,
so let's just go to number 3.
They overlap a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Is number 3 is learning how to talk to people. So no jargon, no backpedaling, and sticking to the 9-step sales process.
Yeah. So the number 4, if you remember, was learning how people think. So this is learning how to talk to people. So it's kind of the application of number 4. Learning how to talk to people is basically having a sales process that works, understanding how to run a consultation, how to have that conversation in a comfortable, confident way that's conversational and not pushy, but still inspires people to actually sign up. So that is something that everybody mentioned. There were 2 things that were consistently mentioned. So this was the second of the 2 things. So the first of the 2 things is number 1, and we count down to that. But the second of the 2 things was their sales process, learning the 9-step sales process. So the 9 steps, for you guys who don't know, is just our formula for what to say and when to say it and how to say it, basically the steps. And everybody loves it, and everybody refers to it. Everybody loves, especially step 7, which was Melissa's savior, because Melissa, she said one of her biggest mistakes is the backpedaling, which is basically like you get to the point where you're asking for the sale or asking for the sale, basically saying like, you've given them all the information, you've just said the prices. And she would say, but like you really don't need to do the largest program. So if you were leaning toward that, you'll be fine if you just do the smallest. Like you really don't need the big one, like 1 or 2 lessons would be fine. And people would be like very like wanting her biggest, she actually said people would be wanting to do her biggest program because it had benefits and features that they really loved. And she would literally talk them into not doing it. She was like, I shot myself in the foot so many times talking myself out of the sale. So this 9-step thing, and especially step 7, which is to just stop talking after you give the prices, has been a lifesaver for so many trainers.
So having the plan is really helpful if you aren't a people person, because you can just follow the steps. And if you trust it, you'll just do it. And it'll save you from yourself.
Yeah. And it does the empathy and the motivating for you. So if you're not naturally good at that and you're not comfortable with selling or any of those other challenges that come up, it takes care of all that. So yeah, that's why people love it. So learning how to talk to people.
And one of the other thing they said is get rid of the jargon. That was probably, I remember you saying, you asked the question, what do you see other dog trainers do? And you're like shaking your head because they keep doing this. It's like, why are they doing this? It's such a mistake. And it was the jargon. Yeah.
Talking like a dog trainer. So when you are talking to people, you should come across as somebody that they relate to and enjoy the company of, and just happens to be an expert in dogs. And so Tim, that's what we were talking about before with the jargon and saying all the dog trainery words, conditioning, balanced, and
even recall,
conditioned, reinforce,
reactive,
reactive. Yeah, even
but
reactive.
Sometimes it gets very technical, and I have no idea what they mean.
I don't even know. Like I am so much. I haven't used jargon in so long. I can't even think of them half the time, which is why we had a list made by Tim. But yeah, all these, Tim, you can give us a few examples in the chat if you want. But yeah, recall, proof, balance, those are the really common ones. But just talking like a regular person and using the phrases that they use so that they're more relatable to you. Basically, that is a really important one, knowing how to talk to people.
So have you ever had a dog owner call you and say, I'm having a really tough time, my dog is so reactive, or it has really struggles with recall? Like maybe it's happened a couple of times. But
it's pretty rare.
It's rare. Like they're generally just going to say, my dog, it snaps at the other dog when I take it for a walk, or it jumps on people, and it runs away in the yard, doesn't come when I call it. Like, so whatever they say usually is what you want to say. And when you use the jargon words, they're probably going to have no idea what you're talking about, and then you'll have to explain them, or they're just going to be confused and pretend like they know what you're talking about because they don't want to seem dumb. And you're going to put this separation between you and them. Like you don't understand each other, like you're speaking a different language.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I got a request for to change the chat function. So you guys who are here, you can now speak to everybody. So if you want to say anything. So Tim says opposition reflex, escape conditioning, conditioned reinforcer, fear period, primary and secondary reinforcers. Like he has this huge list because these are all phrases that he used with clients.
With clients.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, he was so much fun to work with. Love you, Tim. So yeah, no jargon, and stick to the 9 steps of you guys who know the 9 steps. And that's one of the things I work on with everybody. And that's something you can learn from me in a variety of places.
So do you think that a dog trainer would use the jargon because they are trying to sound like they are an expert and they're professional? Is that why they use it?
That could be some of the motive, or it could just be that that's naturally the way dog trainers tend to come out of dog training school talking. Because you're in there learning all these theories and you're around other dog trainers, and you might even just regularly talk to other dog trainers. So that's just kind of part of your normal language. You almost get like the burden of knowledge. Like you forget that other people don't know what that stuff means, or that they can't figure it out in less than a split second. And that's really the whole point of not doing the jargon stuff, is that people, if they have to think for a quarter of a second what you're talking about, you immediately become less psychologically trustable. Basically, they tend to just don't relate to you as well. So even when I use like marketing jargon, I'll say there's this thing that marketing nerds call this, and then I explain what it is. And that's kind of what you have to do. If you can't get out of using the jargon, you'll say there's this thing that dog trainers call this, and it means this, and just say it in like regular English, the way regular people talk.
You might not realize it. You might think you have eliminated all of it, but you have a couple of ones on your website that you could take off.
Yeah. And you might not want to obsess over that. So that might be something you feel like getting help with, so you don't have to overthink it too much. So yeah, that's the number 3, is learning how to talk to people. Sales process.
That's an important one.
Yep.
Number 2, we're getting to the top ones now. So it's not undercharging. Undercharging leads to burnout and clients who aren't committed. So it's also a mindset thing.
Yeah. So this is not even just a strategic thing. This is just the mindset. And then how to do it is a whole other thing. But the mindset of that, if you are not undercharging, you will love your business more, and your clients will love you more, and they'll actually get better results. And a lot of times they're even more likely to sign up if you're not undercharging. So you will actually be given a hard time more often by your prices if you are undercharging and packaging what you offer in the wrong way. And that has happened with pretty much all the trainers I've ever worked with, and all the ones that I interviewed. They all talked about how undercharging is a huge mistake. And it's really hard to even know if you're undercharging or to get out of it if you don't know how to, because you are already being given a hard time about your prices, even though you're undercharging. And it's because there's a skill gap there. There's something you need to change. So undercharging is kind of a perpetual problem, and people kind of tend to get in this like catch-22 where they don't know how to raise their prices because people are already saying, how are you $90 an hour? You know, like so-and-so charges $40 an hour. Why are you so expensive? So one of the trainers I talked to said that she moved from Alaska to where she is now, and she was charging $90 a lesson, and she was getting a lot of pushback because a lot of the trainers in her new area were charging $30, $40 an hour. And so she earns on average about $150, $180 a session, but it's because she just has everything done completely differently. So that's the idea. The mindset of that, like the more you charge and the higher paying your clients are, the more invested they are, the better results they get, the more they listen to you. They tend to just be better clients. And just knowing that you're not doing anybody any favors by undercharging yourself, you'll burn out, and your clients will be less committed.
So it seems that all of these 7 things, they really work together.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are thinking, well, how can I charge more? Well, if you learn the 9 steps, then you'll be able to charge more.
Yeah, because you'll know how to talk about what you do in a much better way.
Yeah. And so like all of them really are connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. A lot of them are connected. And so, yeah, the not undercharging goes a lot with some of the other ones, particularly secret number 1. But yeah, it was mentioned separately a lot of times as like a mindset thing.
What are some other mindset issues that relate to undercharging? Is there something that holds dog trainers back from feeling like they should be charging a lot more? What do you think? Yeah,
and it depends on the trainer. I've seen it in kind of manifest in a lot of different ways. A lot of trainers will have imposter syndrome and not even realize it. And a lot of times it's because their clients aren't getting the results all the time that they would want them to get. And it's because they're undercharging and the clients aren't committed, and they're just paying as they go, a lesson at a time. And then they quit after 2 lessons and they don't get the results. And so then you as a trainer feel like you're not doing a very good job because these people are quitting, or they are, not paying attention, and they're not taking the lesson seriously, and they keep canceling. And if that keeps happening, then you just tend to feel like you're just not very good, which prevents you from charging what you're really worth because you don't see it anymore. So that's part of the problem. The other part of the problem might just be money mindsets around, like, you know, like we've talked before about how we both grew up with around people who kind of seem to be proud of their struggle, basically, for lack of a better way of putting it, who just like seem to think that if you're struggling, that must mean that you are a better person. And if you're not struggling, that must mean that you're evil. So there might be mindset things around money in that way that, like, you know, a lot of like mindset gurus talk about, like, you know, being afraid of success. And I was always like, what does that mean? I'm not afraid of success. I don't know anybody who's afraid of success, but that's what that means. Like, you just have these kind of judgments around, like, people who make more money, and like $100 an hour, $150 an hour, or whatever sounds like outrageous. Like, who were you to deserve that? But you know, if you're a great trainer and you change people's lives, of course you deserve that. The outcomes are worth so much, and you want people to get those outcomes, so they need to take it seriously. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that could go into it.
Yeah, even there was one I never heard of before, but we came across some trainers who felt that by charging a lot, it created higher expectations, and that the owners would be expecting way too much, and they didn't want to put that on themselves. So if they just charged them a little bit, then they wouldn't expect very much.
Right.
But that's just a really bad way to think about it.
Right. Yeah. It's much better for them to have higher expectations of themselves, which is what you get if you do your programs correctly and you charge more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So should we go to number one?
Yes. So here's number one success secret.
This is by far the most important one. And if there was someone who came here and said, had a business and said, my life depends on changing my business around in the next 2 weeks, and I can only do one thing, like, this would be the one thing every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And it is changing their programs, creating programs, or changing from charging by the hour or by the lesson into having programs. So it's pretty much just having programs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you have bad programs, making them good programs, but
Right.
you have to have good programs.
Yeah.
Pretty much having good programs.
Yes. It's changing what you sell, like changing from selling your time to not selling your time. Like, every single person I talked to mentioned that as like the number one thing that made the biggest difference, changing what they actually offer, because what you actually offer for sale directly impacts how much money you make, because that is the thing you have for sale.
If you did everything else perfect and had the perfect website and the perfect sales process, and then you have some kind of really bad offer, like, you never can be successful.
Right.
Like, it's the end of the line thing that has to be there.
Yeah.
That leads everything to it, is what you offer people.
Yeah.
It's like having an awful menu at a restaurant. Nobody's going to order anything, no matter how fancy the outside looks.
Yeah. Yeah. And so examples of that are charging by the hour, or charging for like a package of lessons, or just charging by the week, or any of those variations of charging for your time will tend to keep people from viewing you, and like, they just won't ever see your value enough, and you'll always be stuck undercharging because you're charging for your time. And so one of the interviews, Melissa, I asked her to explain to me, even though this is something I've said like 1,000 times, I feel like I could say it in my sleep. I've taught it for so many years. What's the difference? What's the alternative to charging for your time? And I asked her that, and I asked a couple other trainers that, and the basic answer from all of them was charging for the value of the end result, which is a skill. It's something you have to learn how to do, how to package what you offer, how to create your programs correctly, and be able to present them in a way that makes the outcome actually look valuable.
So how do the trainers that you talked with, how are their programs? Because that's the number one thing that's successful.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about like how they did it, what they're generally like?
Yeah, and you guys will hear it if you watch the full case study videos later on. You'll see like a lot of them talked about specifically what's in their programs. But like Michelle, there's a huge variety. Some do board and train, some don't, some do day training, some don't, some only do private lessons. Michelle's biggest program is she only does private lessons. Her biggest program is still only just private lessons, and it's over $3,000. And it's like she has it, so it's not just like 10 lessons for $3,000. It's not like that. It's a program that happens to be accomplished usually in about 10 to 12 lessons. So it's and that has grown over time. She used to charge, I think it was $55 an hour on average, or by the lesson. So she had a package that was like 4 lessons for like, $425 or something like that. And Melissa had the same thing. She had 4 lessons for $350. And I think she said, I'll have to go back in the interview and listen, but she said, I think her smallest program is 5 lessons and it's like $875. So like, that's an example of how she basically more than almost tripled her income per client just in that one program, the people who do the smallest. Glenn and Heather said that their biggest program used to be a 4-week board and train. I think it was like $1,700 and now it's $3,975. And their medium program is a 2-week and it's now about, I think it was 2 or 3 times more what it used to be. So when we got together and we redid their programs and what it was included and repriced them and redescribed them, that's what I was like, okay, here's what you can charge for this. Go do. And they were like, and they were like, I don't know about this. This is like a lot more out of our comfort zone. They're laughing. I love being able to see you guys. They're like, yeah. So that kind of change and that much more for the same amount of time is jarring for a lot of trainers. For me to be able to say, like, this is something you can do. I will teach you how to talk about it and how to sell it. You are absolutely able to charge this for this outcome. If your clients love you, they get great results. You get amazing results in that amount of time. This is what it's worth. And then they go and do it and sell it all the time. Like they sell those 4-week programs. And Michelle sells her $3,000 private lesson program all the time. It's actually, she said it's her most popular one. So yeah, huge changes just from changing how you package what you offer.
This is the very first thing that Molly taught when she did her very first workshop. Mm-hmm. And the trainers that even though it was the first time she taught it, the people who implemented it had incredible results. Yeah. Right from the start. And when we do workshops, sometimes we do one on like helping with your website or your sales process and different ones, and they're all really good. But when we do the program creation one, that always gets the best results for people. It always makes the biggest difference. And when you combine it with the other ones, then it really increases everything. Yeah. But it's the number one thing you need to have. Right. Yeah. And it just so happens that these trainers that I worked with privately, they preferred to get the direct help so they could just do it the fastest way. And for me to say, okay, here's how to do it. Here's all the principles. Here's all the psychology. And then we just do everything for them side by side for what would work for them and their business and their ideal clients and the kind of programs they wanted. But yeah, that's why it's always my favorite thing to teach, because we see people constantly from one month to the next, doubling, tripling, 10xing their income, working half the amount of time. Happens all the time. Yeah, there's just a step-by-step system that Molly teaches to fill in the blanks and create the program. So yeah, everyone loves it. Yep. So it's really important knowing how to package what you offer, not charging by the hour. Please stop. Don't charge by the lesson anymore. You're not allowed. So there was an unranked number 1 thing that we talked about that's actually like something that was kind of an umbrella over all 7 secrets. There was like one thing that they all did, one thing that a lot of them said specifically that they focused on and that they did as one of their success secrets. You want to mention what that was? It was investing in their own education and how to be better at running their business and stop focusing on only learning how to train dogs, which is really important, but that can't be exclusive. You have to include how to run your business as a really important part of it. It's a 2-step process. Yeah. So always being a student, focusing on learning about the marketing and how to run your business, not just training the dogs. And also one other major important mindset, like Glenn said, he kept having this phrase repeat in his mind. And he was saying to Heather when he wanted to do the coaching program with me and make that investment, that he kept saying, what got us here won't get us there. And having that mindset that like your education and learning how to run your business and how to market your business and get clients and charge what you're worth and all that stuff is an investment. It's something that returns to you. It's not an expense. So being able to make investments in your business that you know will come back to you and being willing to do that is really important, because just like any real business, you have to invest in things in order to get the income back. If you haven't, I hear Jason said yesterday when we were talking about this, that like, if you want to start an ice cream business, you have to buy the ice cream before you can sell it. So it's a lot of the same thing, that if you make the right investments, it's an investment. It's not an expense. Yeah. It pays you back. So you want to mention some of the things that weren't on the list? Yeah. So this was actually, Jason was like, we should include some of the things they never said. A lot of people ask us about social media and setting up social media campaigns and how can they use Facebook to get more business. And it's not to say that these things are bad or wrong, and they're useful, but they're not a secret to success.
Right.
Like we never come across anybody who says, I was really struggling and then I set up that social media campaign and now my business is just roaring along.
Yeah.
Or anyone who said I was struggling and I got that car wrap and now people are just breaking down my door to pay higher and higher prices for what I offer. Like it might be a useful tool, but it's not the difference maker.
Right.
So things like your logo design or your business name, or what else? Different advertising methods.
Yeah, a lot of yeah, just kind of just a lot of things that we tend to fixate on for a long time because we just don't know that they should either be not focused on at all or at the very least back burner.
Okay, Molly fixated on our logo when we started. It was
I did.
days and days and days. Do you like
Days
this
is not
one
that
better?
bad,
Do you
like-
like this one better? So like everybody does it. So
Yeah.
Molly did the same thing when we started us. She was really, really worried about the text and the colors and everything about the
Yeah, no,
Sure.
I just talked to somebody a couple of days ago who obsessed about her business name for a year. She didn't start her business for a year because she couldn't decide on the name. You know, like things like that hold us up forever because they're creative and we get stuck, you know, like a lot of them just don't matter. You know, how to advertise on Facebook is like one of the least of your problems. Being able to get people to find you who are actively looking for a dog trainer, that's super valuable. But a lot of things are things that just take so much of our time and are not things that we need to bother learning about or doing right now. You have to fill in the big holes first.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the main things that weren't mentioned a lot. Look, like website design is another one. A lot of trainers focus so heavily on like what their website looks like, which can be important if it's awful, but it tends not to be one of the biggest focus things that makes it's not one of the biggest needle movers. It's not one of the things that makes the biggest difference.
And it can be very time consuming.
Yeah. It's not something you probably should be doing yourself anyway,
No.
because you might not be a designer. Might not be your thing. That's fine. So yeah, those are the main things. So now you were going to tell a story about.
Yeah, it's
something.
just that when you have a coach, it really makes a huge difference. I remember for me, I like to run, I like to do races, and I've been doing that since I was a teenager. And I would always do like half marathons or 5K races, like the short ones. And I really wanted to do a marathon. And it took me like 25 years of delaying until I finally hired a coach, a running coach. And the coach helped me come up with like a program, which I could have done on my own, and gave me some accountability that I had to check in with him. And the very first race that I did using the coach, I was able to finish the marathon, which was like a lifelong goal. But it took me like 25 years of procrastinating, and I could have done it on my own, but I didn't. That was the whole point. I just didn't do it. And then I had the coach and I did do it. So just having that accountability and the advice and someone to talk to when you're struggling, it makes a really huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen Molly make that difference for dog trainers. So for me, it was the running coach. And if you need help with your dog training business, then Molly is definitely the person that can help you get to where you want to go. You're probably thinking like these trainers that we talked about tonight, they had the privilege of working with Molly. You know, I want to do that too. Like you want to have that success. Who wouldn't want to have that time off and the extra income and avoiding the burnout and everything like that? So how quickly did they get those results when they worked with you? Because that was one thing, in case you haven't figured it out, they all worked with Molly as a coach.
That's how I know them so well. Yeah.
And they're not the only ones. We only had time to talk to them, and it was hours and hours, and wouldn't have had time to talk to others. But there are a lot more people that Molly has coached and helped one-on-one with their businesses for years now. These are just the ones that, you know, had time in their schedule to help, but there's a ton more.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you do it? And how fast do these people get this success?
Yeah, so I'll kind of peel back the curtain a little bit. Well, no mention of sausage again, I promise you guys. I have a few different over the years have had several different group programs and private programs. So the private programs are awesome when the trainers just want the one-on-one help and just get it done fast, and they need like the accountability, or they want to work side by side on everything, learn how to do it, but also just be told like, hey, here's what will work. Just go use this for your business and your personality and your ideal clients and everything. So everything that was unique to them. So the first thing I always do is get to know your business and figure out where you are, where you want to be. A lot about your personality and who you try to attract as clients, who you do your best work for, all that kind of stuff. So getting to know your business is really important because, like I said, everybody's different. But aside from that, having like an actual strategy and saying like, here are the things that are going to make the biggest difference for you. Here's the goal. Here's how we're going to do it. Here are the steps. We're going to work together on the steps from the beginning to the end and actually have an actual plan. So it's not just like, hey, just trust me, we'll get through it. We'll talk about what your needs are and what's going on in your business every week until you get there. There's no like, just kind of just do whatever. This is not that kind of coaching. There's always a plan. So you know exactly what we're going to work on, how you're going to get there, and you can have the confidence of knowing that'll work. So we, like Glenn and Heather, they did the Legends program. So I went to their house. And we spent a couple of days together, and I worked with their staff, and that was great for them because they needed, like, they wanted to have the stuff face to face, that I could see everything and shadow their business and see what they didn't see and all that. And that helped a lot. So that was awesome. I had so much fun with them. And then they also came down here to Florida to visit again and get an extra day. So in their case, we just did everything all at once, face to face, and rewrote their website, rewrote their programs, worked on their sales process, practiced the sales process. I listened to Glenn on the phone with clients and critiqued him and just, you know, all these things just face to face, just to get it all done and out of the way. Another program I have, we work every week on Zoom for a couple months to get all the goals reached. Another one is on Zoom for a half a day. So just kind of depending on preferences and how much direct help the trainers wanted, we worked in different ways. But one of the great things about these programs is that I always get people in these programs who implement things fast. So every single one of them, I was like, I loved working with you because you took what we worked on and you went and used it immediately. You actually applied it. And I always praise them for that, because that's one of the great things about that. So they always got like practically overnight results. You know, especially with the program changes, they would just the next consult sell a program for twice as much as half the work. So that makes a big difference really quickly. So yeah, the results are always super, super fast, and the actual strategy and how we actually do everything varies depending on just how much direct help the trainers want.
A lot of times people think like, well, it won't work for my business, or, you know, I'm so unique or different that it might not work for me. One of my favorite stories is a lady in Taiwan that Molly helped. She coached this person, and this lady, she trains cats, and I didn't even know you could train cats, but she helps people train their cat, and she only does it on Zoom. And this was even before the pandemic. She always only did it virtually. Mm-hmm. And Molly helped her create her programs for cat training, and she does amazing.
Yeah. So she didn't even know what her goal was at first. I had to pull it out of her over the course of about an hour during the first call. But ultimately, it turned out that she was working like 60 or 80 hours a week and making about half what she wanted to make. So she was burnt to a crisp. So basically, her goal was to make twice as much and work half as much. And that's exactly what she did.
So that's the goal. Yeah. There's no guarantee of how much anybody can make, because nobody can guarantee anything, but that's always the goal, is to make a lot more money in a lot less time. That's like, to sum it up.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, one-on-one coaching isn't the perfect fit for everybody. And those programs that we've been talking about, these particular trainers, just to give you an overview of what they did and how they did it, not always for everybody, not always even available. I have, like right now, I have one spot for the Legends program, the face-to-face one.
And we follow the rule with the boundaries.
Yeah, we have the boundaries too.
We have three little kids, and we spend a lot of time with them. We do homeschool with them and all that. So one of the things that Molly makes sure she does is spends a lot of time with the trainers she's working with. So she's not working with like 4 or 5 people at once. It's usually one person at a time. So she can really focus on their business. And when she's not helping them, we're talking about their business, and Molly will tell me different things, and we'll, consult about it when we're around the house. So it's like really something that's on her mind, and she really cares about the people and makes it like her determination that they have success. And as long as they listen to what she says, then they're successful.
Yeah. Yeah. So he'll even say, because he'll be like, oh, how's Michelle's baby? Because he hears me talking about these people all the time.
I know a lot more about you
than you know about him. Like, you guys some of you are even aware of what these things are on his shirt, because you've been around long enough to find out. So, which if you really need to know, you're going to have to email me to find out, so we don't get off track. But yeah, if you want direct help from me, that's not something that I sell. It's not something I talk people into. It's kind of just, I tell you where to go to get the information if you want it. Otherwise, if it's not the right fit, that's totally fine. If you're more of an independent study type person, we have stuff for that too. So feel free to ask me if the private coaching isn't the right fit for you. There's lots of ways to get help.
But if you're like really determined and serious to get your dog training business to your goals as quickly as possible, then Molly is the one that can help you do it. I've seen her help so many people over the years, and I'm privileged to hear all the emails, all the testimonials. She reads all the Facebook posts. Like, I hear it all the time. And she says, oh, so-and-so just sold another program. It was like $3,000. I'm like, oh, really? I hear it all the time. And it always works. And the people are always successful, and they love their business after.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Molly makes all these friends. They become her friends after. So she has this group of trainers, and they all get along. And sometimes they meet in person and everything. And it's a really nice thing.
Yeah. Yeah. We're still looking to do a meetup with a bunch of ladies in Savannah at some point.
So to work with Molly, though, it like she said, it's not something for everyone. And it's not just, she doesn't take anyone. It has to be a good fit for
the one-on-one.
For the one-on-one, because you work so closely together that you want to be able to make it work. And not everybody is a great match to work one-on-one.
Right.
So how do you, if you're interested in working, and there's very limited spaces. I think there's one space for the legends, and just a couple,
one, maybe two for the Thrive program.
And you wouldn't be able to do them all at once anyway. So they would spread out. So if you want to apply to see if you are a good fit for the program, you should do it right away. Yes. And can you just explain the process?
Yeah, that's, you just go to the main website, makeitasAdogtrainer.com. You'll see all the programs on the programs page, but there's also a link at the top that says one-on-one programs. So just go to makeitasAdogtrainer.com, click on one-on-one programs, and there's a link to an application. So you can just fill that out. And if it seems like a perfect fit, then we'll get on Zoom for 15 minutes to answer questions. But otherwise, I will be happy to direct you toward another resource if you need it, if it's not. But that's it. That's one thing you wanted me to say too, what a good fit actually is for private coaching.
And what is that?
So a good fit for one-on-one help is a couple things. Number one, that you prefer to have one-on-one, like side by side, learn how to do everything, but also have some things done for you. It's not just if you just want somebody to take over all your marketing. Like, I don't just run all your campaigns or anything like that. This is a coaching thing you learn, but you also have a lot of things done for you, so you don't have to think about it. But the primary thing is willingness to what coaches call being coachable, basically, that you will you trust that we know what we're doing, and that you'll follow it and apply it quickly so that you can get the results quickly. And a lot of it is really just a personality thing. So if I just don't get on your every last nerve at the moment, and you think we'll get along, that's one of the most important things. You have to laugh at my jokes. Like, that's really important. It's important to my ego. You have to like me. So yeah, personality is a big thing, but willingness to apply things quickly. And once you are confident to know, like, so Heather says, I stalked Molly for months, making sure she wasn't a scam. So I wish I'd worked with her sooner. She's the real deal. What was it? Carla said something about, she said, having Molly's experience, seeing what many different trainers do, helped me get the confidence to charge a fair amount, and for me and the client. So just having that trust of just doing what we talk about and implementing it. Yeah.
And you really have to think about, where you'll be in a year, and if you just continue to do it on your own, where you'll end up. I know you said one of the trainers went on for like 10 years, and they really didn't make a lot of progress from year to year. They had a little bit better, a little bit worse, but yeah,
a lot of them did actually.
You made so much progress in just a short period of time, and sometimes it was like a decade and it didn't get anywhere. So you have to think, imagine a year ahead, where you would be if you did it on your own, and where you think you could be in that time if you have someone to help you and to show you what to do and to explain what to do and to teach you how to do it, so that you have that knowledge that you can do things on your own for yourself too. Because it's like, it's not just Molly doing things for you. She does some for you, but you're getting like an education too. Yeah. You're learning how to do it. So if you have to make an adjustment, you'll know how to do it. It's like valuable information forever.
Yep. You learn how to do everything, and not just be given the fish. You learn how to fish. So that's the goal, is for you to make more and work less, and know how to do it from that point on. So if anything changes in your business, you know what to change, you know what to do. And then I'm still around if you get stuck or anything like that. There was something else I was going to mention too. As far as income increases, like, kind of leaving aside all the impact stuff, just even income increases, that if you did what's common among the people that make these changes, if you doubled your income and worked less, that doubling the income, whatever that is, $24,000, $100,000 a year, whatever that extra amount is, if you don't make that, you're basically spending that every year. Every penny you don't earn is a penny spent, basically. So that's like Glenn and Heather, they were going along for 11 years. I keep mentioning them because I can see them, and I love you guys. They were making kind of consistently the same amount, and now they've doubled their income basically twice since we worked together. And so that income, like that, $80,000 extra, and then that, $100 and something thousand extra, is income that they get to enjoy forever, the rest of their business, that they wouldn't have maybe had if they had just kept trying to figure it out on their own. They eventually might have gotten there, but it just would have taken longer. Yeah, and a lot more frustration. So yeah, again, if you want help one-on-one, make sure you hop on that link at Make It as a Dog Trainer, fill out the application. Feel free to do that regardless. And if, like I said, if it's not the best fit for you right now, I have tons of other resources and ideas and direction I can give you.
And the tips that we went over tonight.
Yep. And just keep watching us anyway, because we're always sharing more of the how-tos, like what the 9 steps actually are, stuff like that. So yeah, just do what Kelly did. Kelly's on tonight, and go and binge watch the YouTube channel, stuff like that. Also watch for a free gift for you guys who are here live. We're going to send you a free gift tomorrow morning. So watch your email. So we're going to send you something tomorrow. Make sure you watch for that. So now let me see if you guys, now that we have, we'll spend a couple minutes, see if anybody has any questions. So Christina, I saw your message. I'll look for your email with your questions. Heather says, that's the only shirt I've ever seen him wear. And there's a secret about that. Jason hates wearing shirts with sleeves.
It's the only one with sleeves I have.
Yeah, no, he has 2.
Oh,
he has 2 now. He has a buffalo one also. Yeah, so for those of you guys who don't know, these are nudibranchs, which are sea slugs, his favorite thing to take pictures of. He is a underwater photographer, and that's his favorite subject. They're very cute. Carla says, I thought I hated sales. Now that it actually benefits my life, I enjoy it. That's one of my favorite things about learning the marketing psychology stuff, is that once you understand it and you apply it and it works, you actually learn to love sales and marketing. You become like kind of a nerd. And that's how I got where I am, being a marketing nerd. Kelly says, legit works, more than doubled the package and bam, sold the next day. Thanks so much, Molly. So that was when we were talking about increasing your price, and it actually works better. Scrolling up here. Whitley says, the packaging webinar changed my business so much. We had our biggest month since our inception in March, doing over 50K gross. We've increased average dollar per client over $300 in only the first 3 months of this year. And we actually dropped our prices. So I know you changed your programs and now you just make more per client in less time. And that was a huge thing for you. So I'm so proud of you for that. You did awesome. Yeah, I think those are the, let me see if there's any questions.
What books or other resources do you recommend for marketing and business?
Oh, let me read Glenn's comment first. Glenn and Heather said, Molly is the real deal. Just do it. Molly, Jason does exist. Yes, here he is. He is real. So I can't remember if you met him in person when you came down. Did you ever see him? No? Yeah. So yes, he's not a cardboard cutout. It's so funny because we get jokes about that all the time. Even people that I've known my whole life are like, is he still alive? And I'll take a selfie and he literally will look like a cardboard cutout in the selfie because he's so like, I don't want you to take my picture. Carla says, what books or other resources do you recommend for marketing and business? I don't have it in here. There's one book that Jason has actually read that I haven't read. It's called Copywriting Secrets. That one is really good for learning about marketing writing. We like that one a lot. And psychology stuff, my all-time favorite marketing psychology book is called Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion. It's an old book, but it's all these case studies about basically why people do what they do. And it's fascinating to somebody who's a nerd. So yes, definitely go read that if you like marketing or behavioral psychology. Even it's not even really just marketing, but it affects like buying psychology stuff. Oh, they've got it. Look, you guys are awesome. They have the book right there. Yeah. So yeah, they know because I said go buy this book and read it. But yeah, I have a lot of psychology books. This is my recent favorite. It's called Gifts Differing. It's about the 16 personalities. And Jason makes fun of me because I'm obsessed with the 16 personalities and understanding people. So that's how I love to do. I love to understand all of my introverts. So yeah, that is Heather has it on the screen. Yeah. So those are my favorite, top favorite books for psychology stuff. But yeah. Any other questions or anything else? Did you want to mention anything else?
There's a lot of podcasts that
Yeah.
you can listen to.
Yeah. There's a lot of really good ones. Ray Edwards.
Yeah, Ray Edwards is one of my
copywriting
favorites.
guy.
I like all the copywriting ones that teach you what words to use and writing emails and when you talk to people, and the part about understanding your clients and the language that they use and not using the jargon are the kind of things I like, and the psychology on how to influence people to make purchases. So the book that Molly mentioned, and Ray Edwards has a podcast and he has books. And once you find one of those people, then you kind of look at the other recommended books and you get a lot of ideas of the people that they recommend, because they all generally teach the same principles in a different way. Yeah. There's nothing really new about it.
Yeah. The last book on personalities, this one is called Gifts Differing. It's by the actual original Myers-Briggs trio. So it's by Isabel Briggs Myers and Peter Myers. Gifts, not gifts, not GIFS, GIFTS, Gifts Differing.
Someone said, please list the copybooks in the chat.
Okay. Yeah. And feel free, if you miss them, to, let me just change it to everyone in meeting. Copywriting secrets. I forgot what the guy's name is. Jim something.
Yeah.
Jim
something.
Edwards, maybe.
No, Ray Edwards.
No, Ray Edwards. Yeah. So Jim something, I think. But yeah, just look up copywriting secrets on Amazon. You'll find it. So that's just a good one. And then, yeah, Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion by Dr. Robert Cialdini. Awesome classic. Okay. Yeah, I think that about wraps it up, and keep sticking around for more training as we do other things too. This is kind of a big overhead view of the success secrets. And then we do trainings all the time on the individual, like how to, for a lot of them. And just stick around and make sure, if you're new here, that you keep watching, and you'll hear more jokes for you to laugh at. And learn all kinds of cool psychology stuff. And thank you guys so much for joining me, you regulars here. I appreciate you guys so much. You're welcome. Thank you guys. Thanks, Tim. And Glenn and Heather, Kristen, Megan, all you guys, Carrie, who are always here. I'm scrolling through to wave at everybody. Thanks again so much for being here, and we will see you next time. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.